We are going to talk about gender-based violence and femicide cases, given that last year we witnessed a rise in both GBV and femicide cases in Kenya, so much so that it caught the attention of the head of state, that is President William Ruto, who pledged over 100 million towards the fight against femicide and gender-based violence. And in studio already, I'm joined by Honorable Leah Sankaire, who is the Kenya Women Parliamentary Association Chair and Kajiado Women Rep. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
And also Executive Director of KEWOPA, that is Mercy Mwangi. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
Uko salama? Now, this is a fully fledged all-out war on GBV and femicide. Now, talk about the importance of addressing these issues at its roots. Let me start with you, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much. I am very delighted to be here this morning.
Karibu sana.
And I'm happy that this topic has finally caught the national attention that we've been looking for a very long time. I can say that we now want to address GBV from a societal approach and from the wholesome, holistic approach. Because there before, maybe GBV have been addressed by basically women, civil societies in their own small ways. But now at least it has caught the attention of the head of state. And I'm very happy that he saw the need for us to address the gender-based violence from a holistic perspective. And today we are here to talk about it and to put up strategies that we have for the next 2.5 months, addressing this menace that has actually affected the whole community. Yes.
Mercy, what do you think, or what is the uniqueness that this initiative is bringing on board, given that there have been other campaigns towards fighting GBV and femicide, but what is the uniqueness of this initiative?
Thank you very much for having us this morning. So I think the uniqueness of this Komesha Dhuluma campaign is, number one, that we have the ear of the president. It is a presidential initiative led by His Excellency the President of Kenya, and also that for the first time, all the women parliamentarians who are 1 or 2 in number, that's the women parliamentarians from both the National Assembly and the Senate, will be driving the grassroots conversation. And we are also bringing together communities, religious institutions, the judiciary, the security agencies, essentially all stakeholders who are in the justice sector, GBV, that look at these issues of GBV, and also civil society organizations who we've been working with, and they've always led these conversations. But this time, we are seeing that it's being led from the Office of the President and also the legislature. Yeah.
102 members of parliament, or lawmakers, so to speak. What informed that?
What informed that is the rising number of cases. Like each and every day we have to deal with cases of GBV and femicide. And so that has been informed by the fact that these cases are rapidly rising each and every day. So it has stopped from being a small issue, and it's become actually a national issue. And that is what has actually informed that. And I'm happy that for the first time, all the members of parliament, female legislators, will be dealing with this at their grassroots or at their backyards. It will be very impactful because there before, probably we've been dealing in different capacities or as individuals. Because if a case arises in Kajiado, I will go and address that case. Another case arises in Nairobi, the member of parliament addresses that case. But this is going to be different now, that we will be having one conversation, one agenda for the next 2.5 months, addressing the same thing. And we are also happy that it will also be driven by the head of state. This campaign is actually spearheaded by the head of state, and we are very happy about that. Yes.
You know, we are talking about GBV and femicide, and last year there were a lot of those cases. But then again, if you're talking about addressing the root causes, Mercy, what do you think are the root cause of these things?
So there are many causes that cause GBV and an increased incidences of femicide that we are seeing in the country. So I'd talk about, number one first, the cultural and societal norms. So you'll find that a lot of times, and especially when it comes to issues of domestic violence, for example, you find that it is largely accepted in some cultural groupings, and also even on social media, you'll find that when you see somebody has been abused, whether it's a man or a woman, the culture within our country is that when a girl reports that she's been abused, people will be asking questions of how was she dressed, why was she out at night, you know, and such questions. Even when men are abused, they are unable to report, or there's very low reporting for men who have been abused within domestic violence cases because of the same culture. When they go to report at the police stations, they are being asked, are you serious? You're coming to tell us that your wife has battered you or something to that effect. So I think that's where, and that's when you say, when we talk about addressing the root cause, we need to start by addressing the cultural norms and traditions that are hindering the access to even justice, because if we are not reporting, then we will not know the statistics. And then the next thing is access to justice. We are seeing the judiciary cases taking too long, taking up to 2 years, 3 years. And for example, when a child, for example, has been abused, it becomes even traumatizing when they have to go to court every 2 or 3 months, and they have to narrate the story, what happened, and they have to face the perpetrator. So access to justice, and that's why we are saying we'll also look at how to engage with the judiciary so that we can see how to fast track such cases. And of course, we will link these community initiatives together with the policy, because the women legislators sit at the legislature. And so how do we then bring policy change to ensure, for example, access to justice is fast-tracked for victims and survivors? Yeah.
You've pointed something out about men not speaking out, which now underscores the aspect of stigma. And this is now gender-based in terms of men speaking out and ladies speaking out. How are you going to address that and encourage men who have faced GBV to speak out?
In this campaign, as Mercy put it, I can say that the causes sometimes of GBV are actually very complex, because most of the time we are dealing with the outcomes of actually failed love, because 90% or 80% of GBV is as a result of failed love somewhere. And you know, before a GBV happens, there has been so many red alerts. But you know, they say that love is blind, and it actually is, because someone is battered once, they don't report, they keep hoping and wishing that this thing will be sorted out in between the two of them. Tomorrow, someone throws you out of the car or out of the house, and you sleep you sleep outside. But you keep hoping and having the faith that this thing will change. But sometimes we say maybe people change, but 80% or 90% of these cases don't change. They keep escalating from a simple slap, they escalate from a simple push, and eventually it gets to murder. And so we are saying that when we look at the root causes, it's actually, we need a holistic approach for this. We also need to listen to the survivors, so we can establish the root causes of this and see how we can actually deal with it. But as I said, it's actually a very complex issue, and we keep dealing with the outcomes, because now when you're living in the same house with someone, there's no way we can put CCTVs so that we can see what conversation goes on in that house and what goes on there. And reporting is also voluntary. Like a neighbor can see you being beaten, but some of these things you go and sort them out behind the doors yourselves. And so even when they raise the alarm that there is violence happening in this house, and the people don't want to take responsibility, and as Mercy said, it's more of a cultural or a societal norms. Like it would be normal for it's not supposed to be normal, but when a man beats his wife, or they feel like it's normal, like she just did a mistake, and so it's okay to beat the wife, which is actually not right. And for the men also, we have so many men who are actually undergoing violence. And you see, for men, because of their masculinity, it's hard for them to report. And even when they go to report at the police station, the police will look at you and even laugh at you. Oh, nakuja ku report, you've been battered by...
That is the stigma we are talking about.
Exactly. And so we want to speak to people, we want to take this campaign to the grassroots level to say actually that violence is violence. When violence is created against a woman, it's violence. When it's against a man, it's violence. And so we want to take now this sensitization that GBV, it's not about women. It's about men and women. It's about somebody going through torture. It's about somebody going through discomfort, and it's actually somebody being tortured somewhere. And so we also encourage the men that even though you're masculine, you can speak about what you're going through. And that is what this campaign is all about, to speak out, to amplify the voices of GBV, so we can come to terms of ending it.
Yes. Mercy, there's also the issues of mindset. Like Mheshimiwa said, men rarely talk about these issues. How are you going to approach that aspect of changing mindsets, especially amongst men who are undergoing GBV?
Okay, so as part of the campaign, one of the things that we are going to do is we are having a media campaign. So we'll be running a media campaign both in our social media spaces and also with media stations like what we are doing today. And number one is that we see the role of media in changing, you know, or shaping public opinions. And so how do we see media shaping the opinions of people with regards to GBV, yeah? And this means if people are being, if I see you're being abused, can I report even on behalf? And then also knowing their rights and responsibilities, also knowing about the laws, the existing laws. Will be covering some of the existing laws, because a lot of times people don't even report because they don't know the right that they hold. And also they don't know that some of these things are actually illegal, you know? So yeah, so a major component of this campaign is the media campaign, and so this will go a long way in helping shape the opinions of people and hopefully changing the cultural norms that we are talking about. Saying that, I mean, if you're being battered, it's okay to leave. Don't wait until you die. If you're being abused, it's okay to report, to go and report to the police. And we find that sometimes, even when you find that somebody has been killed, for example, there is no reports are not made, or even when reports are made, we see a lot of out-of-court settlement, or families, they say, bring me a goat, give me a goat, we just want this to stay in the family, you know. So this is what we want to change, but also just changing the public opinion of people so that they are able to know that it is not right, we need to stop GBV, and so we hope that this essentially will lower the cases that we are experiencing in the country.
So, Mheshimiwa, it is not going to be a one-fits-all kind of an approach?
No, it's not going to be a one-time thing. We hope that we will be running this campaign progressively every year to sensitize the people and actually make them be aware of their rights also, and make them comfortable. We also want to change a bit of socialization, because, you know, the men has been socialized to feel like I can't be beaten by a woman. And so when they grow up knowing that even if a woman batters me, I'd rather die than report, because I can't just take it like, I can't take it like reporting like a woman has actually violated me. And when we take these campaigns even to schools, because we hope that soon we can be able to establish small programs in our primary schools, or even in our learning institutions, so that when children are growing up, they grow knowing that there is violence and they can actually report, as opposed to the cultural norms that we've put on our children, that you're a man, you're not supposed to wash utensils, you're a girl, you're supposed to wash utensils. It's about time now, because society has changed and times have changed. It's about time now we started also reviewing those cultural traits that we teach our children at a young age. And in schools also, they can be taught that being a man and being a woman, this is about gender, and you can always speak about the issues that you're going through. Because we also have school-going kids, even the boys going through a lot of violence, but they just keep quiet because, again, they don't want the girls to know that they're actually going through violence. So this is a campaign that we will continue working on, improving and making sure that we take to our institutions and take to our yards, so that each and every person is aware and each and every person can raise their voices. And it's not only, we also have people at high societal ranks who are also going through violence. But you see, they can't talk about it because the society is already, you know, has already profiled you as a high-standing person in the society. And so most of them, both men and women, go through violence, but they can't speak about it because they feel like, oh, the society is looking up to me. So we want to tell people that domestic violence or gender-based violence is actually an issue that can happen to anyone, and anyone is free to talk about it because it's not about you, it's about something that has happened. Yes.
Mercy, is there a space for children to talk about these issues? Because issues of GBV and femicide cases, they not only revolve around the victim and the perpetrator, there are kids involved. How are you roping in kids to talk about, to express themselves on this issue, because they affect them?
Yeah, so when you look at how we've structured the campaign is that we'll bring in different people from the community. So it's more of a community engagement. So in some cases, but we are also looking at the local context, because how the local context in Kajiado looks like is not the same way as, let's say, Mandera or Nyandarua or Nyeri, you know. And so we'll be looking at the local context, and so identifying who are we going to involve. So in some instances, we'll involve children, but also keeping in mind the obligation to protect, because, you know, with regards to children, there's obligation to protect the children, and especially if they are victims of domestic violence, the onus is on us to protect these kinds of stories. So we could give these stories, but just to shed light on the magnitude of domestic violence, or even just abuse, sexual violence that is happening amongst children. And so we'll also be working hand in hand. You saw that the president the other day gazetted a task force, which has also been mandated to look at the hotspots, where GBV is most common, and such. So we will work hand in hand with that task force. But also, the children are also protected by the law. We have the Children's Act, we have the Protection Against Domestic Violence, Victims Protections Act, and so we can also see how then do we bring policy change to further protect, although in Kenya the children are really protected by the law. So that's the way we intend to engage with this target group.
You know, Mheshimiwa, the National Council for Administration of Justice report of 2023 and 2024 mentioned counties like Nairobi and Kiambu as hotspots of GBV and femicide cases. What is the approach towards these counties with the higher rate of GBV and femicide?
Thank you. The reason, first and foremost, those two counties were reported as the highest is because we say that those are reported cases.
Yes.
But when you look at the rest of the counties, their cases might even be higher, but they have not been reported. Given the complexities in reporting, there are people who cannot access even the courts to report. And maybe the people from Nairobi and Kiambu are actually closer to given the nature of their counties, and they're in the city, their settlement is in the city. Maybe access for justice to them is a little higher than the rest of the counties in the country. But I want to say that cases are high everywhere, and how we're going to approach that and see that we address that issue. We are actually saying that we want to bring the county governments on board. Bringing the county governments on board means that we would like to ask them to start funding the GBV centers across the counties, and actually establishing, we now want to move the the gender desks from the police stations to the hospitals, and that can be facilitated by the county governments. Because we've seen that in reporting, when you go to the police station, then again you have to go to the hospital, you waste a lot of time between the police and the hospitals. And so sometimes the evidence is lost in between because something has just happened. The doctors need to establish whether that has happened, but now going to the police station, coming back to the hospital and going forth, wastes a lot of time. And so we're thinking moving these gender desks from the police stations to the hospitals will actually reduce the time in which the victim goes to the police station and to the hospital again. And we are actually asking them to establish the centers for GBV centers so that our survivors and the victims can actually have a safe place. Because you can imagine you have been battered, you have reported, and you go back to the same house. That means, and we have actually seen such cases where a man and a woman are going through they are going through something, and they separate and go back to the house to try and sort out things, and that actually one of them is killed. And so we are saying in that process where the victims have actually reported their cases, they have a safe place where they can go. And that actually also brings the issue of the children on board, that sometimes the mother cannot be at home and leave her girls with the person that actually battered her. And so maybe it can be a safe place for the family to go and stay there. If the man is the one that has been battered, the man can find a safe place to stay until the case is established. The mother can also have a safe place, and the children. And in that also, guiding and counseling can also take place from there. The children can be talked to, because it's true, the children get affected a lot with the violence that takes place. Sometimes we just deal with the mother or we deal with the victim, but we leave out these children that are actually more affected, and they grow up with resentment. They grow up with a lot of bitterness. And at the end of it, we also see them probably doing the same that their fathers or their mothers did in revenge, because they want to revenge with what happened. And so when we leave these cases unaddressed, it means that we're still just raising those small children who will become victims or victimized one day because of what they've gone through. And so we are actually now partnering. This campaign is also about partnering with county government to see that the GBV centers in all our localities are actually well funded, and they actually have put personnel to work in those GBV centers so that we can all approach this in a holistic manner.
Yeah. Mercy, you talked about cases where men go to the police and they're chided for reporting cases of GBV meted upon them. So how are you going to then have sensitization efforts amongst the police force to ensure that whether it's a lady or a man who is reporting these cases, he is not stigmatized?
Yeah, thank you very much. So like I said, as part of the campaign, when we go to the counties and the constituencies, is that we'll be bringing in the different stakeholders, like the judiciary, the police being one of them. So a lot of times, even when we ask for police to come, we are sent the person who either sits at the gender desk or the woman who, a woman police officer who is from that station. But we are looking to start changing this mindset also with the police, that anybody who I find there, like when I come to report a murder or something else, you find somebody and they take that report seriously. And so I think one of the things that we'll be looking at working closely with the police is that just ensuring that their officers are well educated. So whether it's building their capacities once again on reporting, on taking in evidence. And actually the law provides, the Protection Against Domestic Violence provides that when a survivor or a victim comes to report, police should be able to actually provide direction and some of the remedies available for such a person, and like direct them, you need to do this, and not tell them, I mean, you're a man, or that's your, even sometimes when women go to report, they are told, anakulipia rent, anakulipia nini, so they just stay there. So those are not the kind of questions that they should be asking. They should be taking in the report just the way they take in other reports of other crimes, and helping or directing the survivors on some of the remedies that they can seek to access justice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, the president pronounced himself profoundly on this issue, and even allocated 100 million towards this campaign, and also formed a technical working group to address these issues. Talk about that impact, the presidential impact in this campaign.
Thank you very much. And as I said earlier, this campaign is going to be different from the rest of the campaigns that we have run before. Given that now the president is actually the lead team for this campaign, having had the cries of the people that have gone through GBV, he actually came out clearly and gave a promissory of 100 million that is going to be used to take this campaign at the grassroots level. And I can say that it's going to be different in it. It actually has a lot of impact in that for the first time, you know, CDF or National Government Affirmative Action Fund does not have an allocation for addressing GBV. But you see for the first time now, and any efforts that we have been doing before have been actually voluntary efforts from our side to address GBV. But now it's different because we have a mandate to do GBV because we have been supported by the head of state. You can imagine 102 constituencies having to speak in the same voice, having to run a sensitization campaign. And as we said earlier before, that most of these people, this campaign has actually been run at the national arena. When I speak today in the national television, how many people have televisions in Kajiado County that can watch and get to know what I am actually doing? But today we are going to devolve this campaign into our smallest units, which are actually the wards or even the villages. And by devolving this campaign, that woman at the grassroots can actually know, oh, so there's a law that protects me. Oh, so there's somewhere that I can run to when I'm violated. Because most of these people at the grassroots level don't even know what to do. And you see, it's unfortunate that sometimes most of these violences take place to the very vulnerable. Because someone looks at this woman, she's a widow, she has beautiful girls, they know they don't even have the money to go to the hospital if something happens. And so when these people, vulnerable people are violated, they will not speak because nobody speaks for them. And as Mercy said before, they will say, let's settle it out of court. And even when they want to start reporting, people will come to them, or there's no point of reporting this thing. You'll get a goat, will pay school fees for this child for one term, and this case ends. But now when we take this campaign to the grassroots level, this woman and this girl and this man will know that actually I have a right to report, and they can actually know where to report to. And that is why also within our framework, we are also pushing to have more gender courts in our localities, because the normal courts, when you go to report, I think there's no prioritization in gender cases, or there are cases that they see as more of interest than the cases of gender-based violence. And so we are saying, let us establish gender courts in our localities, so that when a woman is violated, when a man is violated, you're walking into this court knowing that this court deals with this case and I will not be victimized. Because we have also had victims who have been secondary victims again. You are the victim, but you're victimized to look like you walk into somewhere reporting and they look at you like, what time did it happen? Like at 2 a.m. So, ulikuwa unafanya nini 2 a.m.? You know, so at that time, you also become like you're the one at wrong. You are going to report someone that has wronged you, but suddenly you have become like the one at wrong. And so when we have gender courts, it becomes simpler to report because that is their work. They're waiting for those cases to pick, and they will not judge that you are a man reporting or you are a woman reporting. This is their priority, and these are the cases that they are going to handle.
All right, for the interest of time, I'll give you each a minute to give your closing words, and also mention the culmination of this campaign, and I'll start with you, Mheshimiwa.
Oh, thank you very much. As we begin this campaign, I want to talk to the people of Kenya and tell them that speak out, say it, irregardless of your status, irregardless of where you come from, say it. If it happens to you, just speak it out, because speaking is the basis of addressing gender-based violence. We have had to deal with the outcomes of unspoken words, but just get out there and speak. Even if you don't know who to speak to, speak. Just put up your voice and say that I am being violated. You'd rather have people laugh at you or people judge you, but you'd rather have your life than keeping quiet and losing your life. So the first thing that you're sending out to Kenyans, speak, let your voice be heard. Anytime you feel insecure, anytime you feel unsafe, please speak out.
Yes.
Yes.
Massive.
Yeah, so thank you very much. The campaign will culminate on the International Women's Day. That's on 8th of March. And we are hoping to have a big event in Parliament where either the President or the Office of the President will preside. We are still waiting for the confirmation of that. And so that's when we'll come and see like what have we done within the last 2 months, what's the impact of the campaign so far, and how we can also move forward, because we are not doing it as a one-off like we said earlier on. Yeah, and I think for my parting shot, I think I would reiterate on what Chair said, that speak up, report if you can. Speak to, even when we are talking to children, we keep telling them, if you feel like somebody is harassing you, don't feel safe, talk to daddy, talk to mommy, talk to your teacher, talk to your neighbor, talk to your friend. Speak up.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for making time to come and talk about these issues. They are very pertinent in this country. That is Honorable Leah Sankaira, who is the Kenya Women Parliamentary Association Chair, and also Mercy Mwangi, who is the Executive Director of the same association, talking to us about the campaign that is about to start today, exactly today, about the fight against gender-based violence and femicide in this country. This is where we end this conversation. My name is Mike Migwi. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're ready for Entertainment Thursday with Vivian Ndegwa. Good morning.